Khan was very specific. Do as he said, watch what he did. And following him through Cursed Station, I did just that. Rucksack over my shoulder and machine gun held close to my chest. I hurried behind him as he walked at a leisurely fashion to the campfires burning on the other side of the hall. I noticed with surprise, as undernourished tramps, the inhabitants of Cursed, wrapped in stinking rags, scurried away from us. I wondered then what it was that could make them so afraid of some old mystic who sincerely believed himself to be Genghis Khan. The first fire swam by, and Khan hardly noticed it. There were two figures huddled by its side, a woman and a man. They were whispering quietly in an unknown language, and their whispers dispersed, not quite reaching my ears. I was so fascinated by them that I almost turned my head, trying to discern what the subject of their conversation was. But Khan, without even looking my way, said lowly but grimly, "Do not speak to them. Do not look at them." Up ahead was another fire, a bigger one, and a whole group of people had settled around it. Fierce-looking peasant types were sitting there, warming their hands. Loud laughter thundered, and the air was so torn by the sound of noisy arguing that I admit I became a bit scared and slowed my pace. But Khan calmly and confidently went and sat by the fire, not engaging with them, and leaving me no other choice but to follow his example and sit beside him.
"And he's looking at himself, and he sees that he has the same rash growing on his hands, and there's something bumpy itching under his armpits. Imagine the horror! Fuck's sake! Different people react different ways. Some people shoot themselves right away. Others hug themselves close to others, not wanting to die alone. Some run into the dark of the tunnels so they won't infect other people. So this guy, he asks his doctor, is there any chance I'll survive? And the doctor tells him straight, none. After the appearance of this rash, you have a little more than 2 weeks to live. And that's when I saw the battalion commander start to pull out his Makarov, in case this guy panics and gets violent.
The man speaking was a thin old guy with a bristly chin and a voice faltering out genuine anxiety to the grey, watery eyes around him. Though I didn't know what the old guy was talking about, the sincere terror in his voice and the pregnant silence of the recently riotous crowd made me shudder. And so, in a quiet voice, so as to not draw attention to myself, I asked Khan, "What is he talking about?" "The plague," Khan answered heavily. "It's started." Those words emitted the stench of decomposed bodies, and the greasy smoke of cremation fires, and the howl of manual sirens. At Exhibition and its surroundings, there had never been an epidemic. Rats, as carriers of infection, had been destroyed, and there were also several good doctors at the station. I had only read in books about fatal infectious diseases. I had come across them when I was small, and the images that they had evoked held a strong beachhead in my childhood thoughts and nightmares. Therefore, when Khan said the word plague, I felt a cold sweat on my back, and I grew a little faint. Khan sighed and stood, not needing to check if I followed. "What was all that about?" I asked. The conversation behind us grew more and more intense, until the old guy was being held in place by an uneasy gun barrel and being instructed to remove his quilted clothes so that the others could inspect him from a safe distance.
"I come to tell you all what is happening, and you treat me like this? Fuck you! I'm healthy!
I fingered the trigger of my weapon as I fought the urge to turn back and rescue the old guy. But again, Khan spoke with authority.
I admire your nature, Artyon, but keep following me. There is nothing you can do, but you must be made aware of the state of affairs. There is no easier way than just showing them to you.
What? A plague? There are breakouts at some stations. I have heard rangers talk about them. You don't need to be so cryptic. And infection or not, it's not a justification to just leave that man to the mob. Khan grimaced.
It's too late for him, Artyon. Far too late. Pay attention. Have you noticed anything suspicious about this station?
I paused, and though wanting to protest, I thought for a moment. Until... Fires, I said. They've got too many fires burning. If the rangers, or hell, if the Hansa sees that, they'll
do nothing. Because they can do nothing,
Khan said. We were a distance from the many tents and fires of Cursed, moving into a side tunnel when Khan said,
The plague, then the panic, then the fire. The smell of a little girl's hair burning as her cheeks melt to the canvas tent around her. And then comes the plague, the panic, and the fire again. Like I told you already, it is the 419th day, and I am counting backwards.
I stared back toward the station. What? But Khan was already in the tunnel, waiting for me by a pipe.
You have feelings, questions, I'm sure, but like I said, it is just simpler to show you. Nobody ever walks here. Neither people nor beast. Even the rats are absent.
Khan placed his ear to the pipe running along the tunnel wall and nodded gravely.
They know we are here.
I made a conscious effort to control my breathing, to try and keep myself calm. They? I asked.
Come closer to the pipe and listen.
Khan gestured for me to do as he instructed, but I wavered.
You'll be all right, Artyon. Just do as I say. Listen, but don't stay for too long.
Swallowing my fear, I placed my ear to the pipe. It was icy, harsh, and I heard nothing. But just as I was about to turn to Khan with annoyed questions, then I heard the sobbing. Faint at first, but undeniable, as though there were children trapped in the pipe. I heard sobbing vibrate through it. I staggered back.
What was that? I think you already know. Some say it's the voice of the tunnel. Others call it a psychic influence.
What the hell does psychic influence mean? Khan glowered, and I tried to draw from his expression some hint of an answer.
Be silent. Listen to my instructions, and as I lead you out of Cursed, I will tell you all that I know.
He approached a grate that opened with a whine and stepped into another passage, one with tracks. It was an old train line.
I know this tunnel, and it knows me. Let's move.
The way ahead of Khan was so dark that I could hardly see him. Could the shadow of Curse really be so impregnable? He gestured for me to turn on my torch.
Keep your light on, my friend, or we might stay here forever.
How encouraging. Without a word, I did as he asked. We walked steadily on. Skeletons in haggard clothes strewn about the tracks. Skeletons? How long had they been there? Their clothes looked alien, like those from my childhood books. I glanced at what once might have been considered a woman, at the off-yellow rag clinging to her bones, and thought that it was nothing like I expected a real dress to be. Suddenly, Khan barked and I froze.
Stop and look forward. I don't think the word who is applicable here.
My blood filled with a chill that moved through me as Khan turned my attention to a shadow, vaguely human, clutching at the far wall of the tunnel, weeping. Its shape was like an approximation of a person, but the tears, the sobbing, they were all so real. I felt as though I could feel my own heart break as I listened. It was infectiously sad. Khan gestured slowly, and all around us I saw more people that were now more like a stain of breath on a mirror.
They are the long dead,
Khan said quietly. What? I asked, surprised.
Here and back with your friend in the other tunnel. You heard the voices of the dead. At the beginning it sounds like a whisper or a rustle. Yes, that's them.
Khan clasped his hands together and muttered a prayer as we walked by the ghosts. I felt like an intruder, though. Odd how it felt as though I was defiling a sacred place. A mournful place. So I kept my eyes low and stayed close behind Khan.
All the people who have been killed in the metro since the beginning. That is who surrounds us, who you heard in the pipe. And basically, this explains why I am the last incarnation of Genghis Khan. There won't be any more. Everyone has come to their end, my friend. I don't know quite how this has happened, but this time, humanity has quite overdone itself. There's now no more heaven and no more hell. There isn't purgatory either. When the soul flies out from the body, I hope you at least believe in the immortal soul, my boy. Well, it has no refuge anymore. How many megatons and bevatons does it take to disperse the noosphere? It was as real as that machine gun in your hands, and whatever you say, we weren't sparing of ourselves. We destroyed both heaven and hell, and now we find ourselves in this grim world, where once the body dies, the soul must remain right where it is. You understand me, Artyon? You will die one day, but you won't be reincarnated. Your soul won't flow up to any heaven. It is doomed to remain where you lived your entire life. In the dark. In the metro. Maybe I can't give you the exact theosophic explanation for why this is, but I know one thing for sure. In our world, the souls stay in the metro after death. They will rush around the arches of these underground tunnels until the end of time, because there isn't anywhere for them to go. The metro is now both Eden and the netherworld. We are surrounded at all times by those who were crushed under trains, shot, strangled, or eaten by rats, and those who died strange deaths about which no living being knows anything, nor will ever able to be imagined. Someone has buried the river Styx in these pipes. Your friend, Bourbon, was it? He was not speaking with his own words, no.
it wasn't him. Those were the voices of the dead. He was hearing them in his head and repeating them, and they absorbed him. We came to the edge of Cursed Station, and I found myself unable to look away from Khan. Another time, I would have been sure he was mad, that the whisper of the pipes had broken his sanity. But as I saw shadows of the long dead skitter along the walls, barely more formed than my smoky breath, I felt a shiver run up my spine. Khan stretched an arm out to the rest of the tunnel. From here you will arrive at the next station. A communist station. Police state Marxists. I will remain here and keep the shadows company. They are not to be feared, Artyon. One should not be so quick to judge that which he does not understand. G'day guys, I hope you enjoyed that story and thank you so much for giving it a listen. Remember, if you want some more scary stories, you can go to the Scary Stories for Late Nights playlist. Dusk Bowl has been a fantastic project to work on, and remember, if you've got any fanfic or fan art or any just questions about the series, feel free to email me at duskbowl.fm@gmail.com. I love every single one of you, and you've made being a microtuber probably one of the best experiences of my life. I want to give special thanks to my patrons, of course, being Lady Nevermore, Skulk Queen, Catherine Gordon, The Curator, and Stephen Stevens. If you see them in the comments, please say g'day. And to all of you, I bid you logs of love and shit shippers.